Hey friends, it's the Hungry Tourist, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you about the best things to do in China's second largest city, Beijing. There is a certain air of mystery about Beijing that continues to attract tourists from around the world. What's most captivating about Beijing is not just its beauty, but its ability to bring you back in time while still having the advantages of a modern city. Okay, so first thing you gotta do in Beijing is try the local cuisine. Beijing is known to offer a variety of local dishes, anything from Beijing roast duck to instant boiled mutton. I would describe the food that we had in Beijing as indulgent. Think rich flavors, fatty meats, and diverse choices. And if you haven't already, you must try the national dish, Peking duck. This dish has been made for centuries and dates back to Imperial China, where it was served to emperors and nobles. I'll admit I've had a lot of Peking duck in my day, and this had to be the best I've ever had. We first planned to try the authentic Beijing duck where it originated, but decided to go to a restaurant that has a really nice reputation in Beijing and also serves caviar with the duck. Ordering Peking duck is not just a meal, it's an entire experience. I would suggest that if you're going to be ordering duck plus other things, I would tell your server first so they can start on the duck as soon as possible. Sometimes it takes a while. And if you're really smart, you call ahead. It also kind of feels like a lot of people are involved in this whole process whenever you order the duck. After you place your meal and you wait, the carver will come to your table and prepare everything in front of you. It was perfect. Nice and crispy skin, tender meat, and a beautiful presentation. I also do enjoy eating with my hands, so my favorite part is making the wraps with the pancakes. How many of you find yourself running out of room on that pancake trying to load up on ingredients? And I really enjoyed that nice salty taste of caviar with the sweetness of the duck. All right, another favorite on my list is hot pot. But this hot pot is a little bit different. It's made with really thin slices of mutton. And if you've never had hot pot before and you may not be going to China anytime soon, I really do recommend you trying to find a restaurant in your own town. It's one of the most fun social eating experiences you can have. You can order what you want and cook your food at the table. We went to the most famous hot pot restaurants in Beijing, and oh my goodness, it was such a delight. I loved the interior design of this restaurant. They had the really beautiful white and blue china. So the one thing that I noticed that was very different from all my other hot pot experiences was when we cooked the lamb, we just cooked it in water with some herbs in it instead of like a already made broth. And surprisingly, it came out just as flavorful as some of the other times I've eaten hot pot. There are so many other food adventures that are worth going on in Beijing, whether you like street food or you like corner mom and pop type of shops. We went to a number of restaurants in Beijing and they were all delightful. I would really try to find some hand-pulled noodles. Any types of soups are good. Some of the cuisines can be a bit spicy depending on your preference. Just look out for that. But Beijing just has such a number of different types of cuisines. I think no matter what you like, you will find something that will satisfy you. So the sites I'm going to be talking about today, you're definitely going to want to book in advance on WeChat. You're going to want to make sure that they have room for you and that you book a specific time. All of the places today I'm going to be listing are also going to be very crowded in the summertime. And just to make a note that Beijing usually is pretty hot during the summertime. Please don't let that deter you from going to these places though. These places are incredible. Okay, I am so excited to talk about the Summer Palace because seriously, this place amazed me. The Summer Palace is actually one out of 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Beijing. The Summer Palace is one of my favorite destinations in Beijing. Going here feels like a fairy tale. Imagine entering a whole new world from way back when. I love places like this where you can get kind of lost in your imagination and all the old buildings. The Summer Palace is the largest and best preserved royal garden in China, and actually 3 times bigger than the Forbidden City. When you are here, you will be able to enjoy the beautiful landscape, pavilions, halls, temples, bridges, palaces, lakes, and hills. You'll also climb up some very steep stairs to get to the Tower of Buddhist Incense. My favorite part of the palace complex is the Hall of Dispelling Clouds. There you can find hand-painted murals of different Chinese stories and myths and legends. It was used by the royal family as an additional residence during the long and hot Beijing summers. It wasn't just a holiday home though. Lots of courtyards were set aside for the emperor to do business. The emperor and his family would stay there during the summer to get away from the city's heat for vacation and business. The long corridor is one of the most classic features of the palace. It was built to protect the family as they walked throughout the property and gardens. I would give yourself at least half a day to explore the Summer Palace. There's so many things to look at, and it may take some time to see everything. You can even do a boat tour. You can also view the marble boat that doesn't actually move. Yep.
I remember I see turtle.
I loved looking at the fine detail all throughout the Summer Palace. All right, next on my list, what goes hand in hand with Beijing? The Forbidden City. To give you guys some history, the Imperial Palace was called the Forbidden City because the area was barred off to most people living in the city. Only the emperor, his immediate family, the emperor's women, and servants and guards lived in the inner walls. All commoners were strictly forbade. Construction started in the 1400s during the Ming Dynasty. You can see how well preserved the Forbidden City is. One of the reasons for that is China's restoration efforts. Regular maintenance and restoration work are carried out in the building's roofs, walls, and decorative elements. There are also strict regulations and order. Along with many other things, you definitely want to check out the moat, also known as Tongzi. The moat encircles the entirety of the city and was built to defend the city during the imperial era when it was subject to attack. It was also used as fire prevention and for rainwater drainage. Once you get through the first corridor, you will enter the outer building of the Forbidden City. This was mostly for formal gatherings and military exercises. So when you first get to the Forbidden City, you're going to see all of China's Capitol building. It's a cool area. Be on your best behavior. This place has really high security. Totally okay to film and take pictures, but just make sure you know where you're going and have your documents out. As you're approaching the Forbidden City, you're going to see this huge portrait of Chairman Mao. Feel free to pose for a picture there. There'll most likely, especially if you're going in the summertime, be a line. So try to make things quick. Don't do anything suspicious. And if you're already going to be seeing the Forbidden City, I would highly suggest going across the street to Tiananmen Square. In this area, you'll also see the compound that houses the offices of the central government. As I said before, a lot of these places are just bigger than you can even imagine. And Tiananmen Square is the largest public square in the world. So again, you will need to have a booking. Once you book, you can go at your designated time. And I would just go, you can walk around the square. And I wasn't able to see this, but you can also go to Chairman Mao Memorial Hall. It is the final resting place of Chairman Mao. So I'm also going to be talking about a place that is often overlooked by tourists, and this place is known as the Old Summer Palace. This place, to be honest with you, I didn't really know what to expect. I definitely underestimated how large it was going to be. From my research that I did ahead of time, I really thought of it more like one very large palace, but it's more of a compound and garden area. So if you plan to come here, especially as a foreign tourist, I really recommend doing some research before your trip. It has a bit of a different mood there, kind of a somber place. I don't think that it's a memorial site, but it definitely feels like one at times. So yeah, when you're there, you definitely want to be respectful of the events that happen here and what this place still means to China and the rest of the world. The burning and looting of the palace by the British and French remain a huge tragedy. Many feel shame and robbed of their history and cultural heritage. It stands there as a painful reminder of the past and never to forget. So for some brief history, the Old Summer Palace, which was originally called the Imperial Gardens, is a landscape of crumbling buildings and foundations. It's 5 times bigger than the Forbidden City. The complex is made up of 3 parts: the Garden of Peace and Light, the Garden of Blossoming Spring, and the Garden of Eternal Spring. The construction started in 1707, and over time the garden expanded over the course of 150 years. The area was used as the emperor's private gardens. Here you will be able to check out the relics of the palace that was destroyed in the Second Opium War of the 1850s. The destruction was caused by the British and French forces invading Beijing. The gardens were so big that it took 3 days to burn. Most of the structure was burnt to the ground and looted for valuable artifacts and treasures. The ruins are kept there to serve as a reminder of what happened. So please keep this in mind when you are there and try to be respectful as a tourist. Despite its history, it's still a beautiful place to visit. It's surrounded by lakes, pavilions, temples, bridges, and wildlife. When we arrived, I didn't understand how far away the actual palace was going to be away from the entrance. So you can actually buy tickets to this little train thing that will take you. You're gonna pass all these beautiful gardens. I saw so many Chinese roses. They were in full bloom. I really wish we had spent more time there. The grounds just keep going on and on. In the museum, you will see some of the materials or the pieces of the materials that survived. But unfortunately, the majority of the artifacts were destroyed, so anything that remains is pretty precious. Even though it may feel difficult to get through, I'm really glad that China decided to keep the palace as is so we can fully understand the aftermath of something like this. Many lives were lost, crimes were committed, and China lost a central piece of their culture and history. But now its purpose is to preserve the national heritage material, memorialize what is now gone, and educate others. Many efforts have been made to recover relics from the Old Summer Palace. China has worked with other countries to negotiate the return of stolen or looted artifacts that originated from the Old Summer Palace. These negotiations are often complex, involving diplomatic efforts and legal considerations. It is such a shame that they were stolen in the first place, and I hope that China continues to get them back. Actually, in a lot of these sites that I'm talking about today, I did not see a lot of Westerners and foreign tourists that I could identify at those places. And we may have seen maybe 1 or 2 other ones at each site. At the Old Summer Palace, I was the only one. That's just something to be aware of. It does not mean you shouldn't go. I really highly encourage foreign tourists to go. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the Old Summer Palace. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Let's start a discussion and we can share our thoughts. All right, and lastly, if you are going to be staying in Beijing, make sure to check out the nice hotels. Beijing has some of the nicest hotels in China, and you're not going to want to miss being able to stay at one. So Beijing is huge. You have like old Beijing and you have new Beijing. There's so many different areas to stay. So when we were in Beijing, we stayed at the St. Regis Hotel. That specific area, lots of diplomats stay when they're visiting the country and working. Because of that, there's not a lot of people on the streets. It was actually pretty quiet, which was another surprising thing that I experienced when I went to Beijing. A lack of people I actually saw in the city. But that had so much to do with where we were actually staying. The hotel is so nice. I enjoyed the lovely room and the breakfast that we had every morning. And of course, when you're staying at a St. Regis hotel, you do get complimentary butler service, which is always awesome. They had really great amenities along with a breakfast restaurant. There was a gym, there was a fitness pool, there were shops and bars, all different types of places that you could go. You wouldn't even have to leave your hotel if you didn't want to. And every evening they have a ceremony where they pick someone who will take a sword and open champagne that way, so you could have champagne tasting. All right, guys, well, those are my thoughts on what you should be doing when you're in Beijing. Of course, if you're able to check out the Great Wall of China, I wasn't able to this trip, but I definitely will be back to do some trekking. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts, so make sure to comment below and tell me what you guys think. Where would you go if you were in Beijing? And how long do you think is the best time to go? And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe so you can keep traveling along with me, and keep your eyes out for new videos where I will be exploring more of Asia. Bye!